Under the velvet darkness of midnight, the ancient forest usually rested in a quiet, reverent slumber. Tonight, however, an unsettling energy rippled through the shadows. The moon hung low in a star-studded sky, its pale light filtering softly through the dense canopy of towering oaks and whispering pines, casting elongated silhouettes across the forest floor. Every rustle of leaves, every stir in the underbrush, seemed to carry a hint of worry, as if the forest itself sensed an impending call for help. High above, on the thick, gnarled branch of an old oak, Artemis, a clever and watchful owl with luminous, amber eyes, perched in silent vigilance. Her feathers, mottled with hues of deep brown and cream, were perfectly camouflaged against the bark. As she scanned the undergrowth with her sharp gaze, a series of unusual, faint sounds reached her attentive ears, a soft but distinct rustling mixed with distant, anxious whispers that didn't belong to the usual nocturnal chorus of crickets and rustling foliage. Below her in the forest depths, a scrappy yet determined raccoon named Rascal was beginning his nightly rounds. With a patchwork coat that told tales of survival and a curious glimmer in his intelligent eyes, Rascal foraged along familiar trails, his nimble paws deftly navigating between tangled roots and scattered leaves. On this particular night, however, his routine was disrupted by an uncharacteristic tension in the air, a subtle vibration in the silence that set his ears pricking up in alert. As Artemis circled silently above and Rascal trotted along the forest floor, both creatures sensed that something was amiss. Artemis's keen vision caught the shifting patterns of light on the forest floor that appeared more restless than usual, while Rascal's sharp nose detected an unfamiliar, musty scent mingled with the cool night air. Together, though unaware of each other's immediate location, they were both drawn toward the epicenter of an emerging disturbance, an echo of silent distress that rippled like a gentle tremor through every tree and shadow. In the distance, far beyond the familiar paths and among the towering ferns, an ethereal glow began to flicker, its light wavering like a distant signal of misfortune. The subtle interplay of moonlight and shadow created an almost hypnotic effect on the surroundings, highlighting deep grooves in the bark and the glistening dew that clung to every leaf. It was within this delicate dance of light and dark that Artemis' instincts were set ablaze, the quiet call for help demanded attention. Perched in thoughtful silence, Artemis ruffled her feathers as she prepared to descend, her mind already piecing together the clues scattered across the darkened woodland. At the same time, Rascal, emboldened by curiosity and a natural sense of empathy, quickened his pace. His heart pounded with the urgency of the unknown, and his eyes, gleaming with determination, scanned every shadow as he sought the source of the disturbance. Thus began a night unlike any other in the forest, one in which two unlikely guardians, an eagle-eyed owl and a fearless raccoon, were about to converge in a shared mission. The atmosphere was charged with the promise of adventure and the unspoken understanding that the beauty of the night, however dark, could only be safeguarded by brave hearts ready to answer its silent call. In that critical, fleeting moment, the forest held its breath, a world woven with ancient secrets and restless dreams, waiting for Artemis and Rascal to ignite the spark that would save the night. As midnight deepened into an inky canvas dotted with distant stars, the forest's ambient symphony shifted into an urgent, dissonant melody. Artemis, the clever owl, perched on her high, twisted branch still searched the darkness with meticulous precision. Her keen, amber eyes observed subtle movements among the undergrowth, shadows that didn't seem to follow the natural choreography of the nocturnal creatures. A soft, almost imperceptible rustling that carried a note of distress stirred her seasoned senses. It was a sound that broke through the usual lull of crickets and whispering leaves, a call that hinted at trouble in the depths of the woodland. Meanwhile, deep on the forest floor, Rascal, the fearless raccoon, was busy with his nightly foraging routine. Navigating through a maze of tangled roots and fallen twigs, he was accustomed to the sounds of the night, the scuttle of insects, the gentle creak of ancient trees, and the distant murmur of a trickling stream. But tonight, an unusual aroma, part damp earth, part something acrid and unfamiliar, wafted through the air. It wrapped around Rascal's sensitive nose, mingling with the cool breeze and igniting a flicker of alarm. His ears pricked up as he paused, and the rhythmic pattern of his heart accelerated in response to the subtle, irregular beats of a mysterious call. Drawn by this unsettling hint, both Artemis and Rascal began to shift their courses. Artemis unfurled her powerful wings, silently gliding from her perch to gain a broader view of the forest canopy. With each graceful descent, she caught fleeting glimpses of movements, branches trembling in a light gust that was more forceful than the gentle night wind, and leaves that danced erratically as if stirred by an anxious force. Her instincts, honed by years of vigilant nights, told her that somewhere beyond the familiar trails, a danger was emerging, one that could threaten the delicate balance of her peaceful realm. Below, Rascal's nimble paws padded stealthily over the soft, leaf-strewn ground as he made his way along narrow, winding paths towards the source of the unusual scent. The further he ventured, the more the surroundings shifted from the typical hum of urban wildlife to the raw, elemental sounds of the deep forest. Here, under the cloak of towering ferns and ancient oaks, the call grew louder, a low, plaintive sound that reverberated softly through the underbrush. It was as if the forest itself was crying out in distress, a heartbroken plea echoing through the cool night air. Both guardians, though worlds apart in their natural domains, were now inexorably drawn toward the epicenter of this silent alarm. Artemis's mind raced with questions as her sharp vision noted unusual activity, perhaps an injured creature in need, or signs of human intrusion that disrupted the natural order. Meanwhile, Rascal's agile body moved with purpose. Every step was charged with the urgency of resolving the mystery and protecting his fellow forest dwellers. As the two navigated the labyrinthine terrain, one soaring above in the silent shadows of the trees, the other scuttling close to the ground, the inevitable convergence of their paths grew ever more certain. Both sensed that a crucial moment was unfolding. The call in the dark was not merely a random sound, but a clarion signal that the forest's fragile peace was under threat. In that charged and liminal space between the known and the unknown, Artemis and Rascal prepared to unite their unique strengths. The owl's vast, watchful perspective complemented the raccoon's intimate, ground-level awareness, a pairing forged by fate on a night when every rustle, every subtle scent, and every whispered cry was a testament to the forest's need for vigilant hearts. Thus, amidst the interplay of silver moonlight and deep, impenetrable shadows, the call in the dark spurred these two unlikely heroes into action, a promise of a coming rescue, a testament to the enduring power of unity, and the beginning of a night patrol that would soon stand as a beacon of hope against the encroaching peril. As the mysterious call in the dark grew louder, the forest began to stir with determined urgency. Artemis, the wise owl, soared gracefully over the treetops, her keen eyes scanning every shadowy corner, while Rascal, the fearless raccoon, scurried along the forest floor, alert to every rustle and whisper. Soon, they both sensed that they were not alone in their need to answer the plea. One by one, the woodland residents emerged from their hidden abodes. From deep within a dense copse of ferns, a timid rabbit named Thumper hopped out, its soft feet barely making a sound on the mossy ground. Not far off, a family of field mice, whose lives were usually passed in quiet secrecy, peeked out from beneath a tangle of tree roots, their whiskers twitching with cautious curiosity. Even a reclusive old fox, known as Rust, padded silently from his den, his amber eyes reflected a lifetime of wisdom and wariness that now gave way to concern. Drawn by the rising chorus of urgent murmurs, these creatures converged in a secluded glen where the pale light of the moon danced through the canopy, casting shifting patterns on the forest floor. At the center of this natural clearing, the animals found a silent focal point, a symbol of collective distress that demanded a unified response. Artemis circled overhead, releasing soft, resonant hoots that served as a clarion call. Below, Rascal's determined barks merged with Thumper's gentle hops and the cautious murmurs of the field mice, creating a cacophony of unity that vibrated through the air. In that enchanted glen, every creature brought its own unique abilities to the gathering. Artemis, with her far-reaching vision, offered a strategic overview of the unfolding threat, her luminous eyes catching every flicker of movement and every subtle change in the shadowed undergrowth. Rascal, agile and resourceful, had already begun scouting the immediate surroundings, his nimble paws swiftly navigating between tangled branches and fallen leaves. Rust, the sagacious fox, contributed his seasoned insight, recalling tales of past disturbances and advising the group on the best routes of escape and intervention. Together, they formed an unlikely council united by a shared purpose. There was a sense of quiet determination in their eyes, a mutual understanding that the forest's delicate balance was imperiled, and that their combined courage might be the only hope against the looming threat. The glen became a natural meeting hall, where soft rustling leaves and the murmuring breeze bore witness to this unprecedented coalition. With every heartbeat, the forest seemed to echo their resolve. Their assembly wasn't marked by grand declarations or booming voices. Instead, it was a gentle yet powerful symphony of cooperation, where even the smallest creature's role was integral. As the moon climbed higher, casting silvery beams across the clearing, the gathering of forest friends prepared to embark on a crucial mission, an expedition to locate the source of the distress, assist those in need, and push back against the encroaching darkness that threatened their beloved home. Thus, in that hallowed moment beneath the starlit sky, the diverse fellowship of woodland inhabitants solidified their bond. Their collective presence was a living promise that when nature calls, its denizens, from the swift and nimble to the wise and cautious, will come together as one, a beacon of hope and unity ready to face the unknown in the heart of the forest. As the moon climbed high into the darkened sky, casting a silvery glow over the forest clearing, the united fellowship of woodland creatures braced themselves to confront the looming threat. The soft murmur of the gathering had faded into a determined silence, a collective understanding that the forest's fragile peace was under imminent assault. From the periphery of the glen, whispers of distress grew louder. Artemis, the vigilant owl, circled high above, her sharp eyes scanning the treetops. She noticed a movement, a flicker of unnatural light and a shift in the shadows near the edge of the forest. There, between clusters of ancient pines and gnarled underbrush, hints of an intruder emerged. The strange disturbance was not the typical rustle of the nocturnal rhythm, it carried an unfamiliar urgency, a threat that seeped into every branch. Raccoon, the ever-resourceful raccoon, positioned himself at the forefront of the assembly. His alert gaze and twitching ears betrayed a heightened sense of danger. With swift, silent steps, he scouted the border where the natural world met human encroachment. In the distance, he could discern the acrid smell of smoke mixed with the tang of burning wood, a stark omen that something sinister was unfolding beyond the safety of their glen. Within moments, the council of forest friends was abuzz with cautious urgency. Rust, the wise old fox, emerged from the shadows with stories of past intrusions and the relentless greed of those who dared disturb the sanctity of the wild. His low, measured tone urged the assembly to steel themselves, reminding everyone that even the smallest voice could rise against overwhelming odds when united by a common purpose. Guided by Artemis's aerial perspective, the group determined that the source of the disturbance lay at the forest's edge, where a small band of humans, careless and oblivious to the natural order, had left behind remnants of a forgotten camp. The flickering embers and haphazard smoldering debris hinted at a fire that might soon threaten the deeper recesses of the woods. Under the quiet command of their silent leader, the woodland assembly divided into teams. Artemis relayed critical updates with her sharp, echoing hoots, while Raccoon led a ground patrol to circle the danger zone. Thumper the rabbit and the nimble field mice scurried along the forest floor, checking for vulnerable pockets where smaller creatures might be trapped. Tara the tortoise inched forward, her slow, deliberate pace a steady counterpoint to the swift energy around her, ensuring that every potential escape route was mapped out. The tension was palpable as the patrol advanced. The once peaceful clearing was now charged with the electric mix of caution and bravery. Every leaf that fluttered in the night wind, every snap of a twig, resounded like a signal to these courageous souls that time was of the essence. Artemis swooped low, her wings creating powerful gusts as she circled above, all the while tracking the line of smoke that threatened to encroach upon the glen. At the boundary of their sanctuary, the forest friends encountered the unmistakable evidence of human negligence, a tangle of discarded campfires, charred wood, and the lingering heat of a near-forgotten blaze. It was a silent declaration of imminent peril. With a deep, resonant collective understanding, the assembly prepared for the confrontation, to snuff out the rising threat before it could cascade into a full-blown inferno that might engulf their home. In that climactic moment, every creature played their part. Artemis's swift, aerial maneuvers guided the group through safe pathways around the hot spots, while Raccoon's resourcefulness was put to the test as he rummaged through the underbrush for water from a nearby stream. Swift and coordinated, a few field mice dashed to alert other parts of the forest while Thumper and Terra orchestrated a small evacuation route for the more vulnerable animals. The crisis, though daunting, was met with a fiery determination born of unity. The forest, an ancient tapestry of resilient life, seemed to rally around its defenders. The interplay of shadows and light, of wind-swept leaves and determined paws, created a moving tableau of courage in the face of incipient disaster. As the embers of the human misdeed began to cool under the methodical, combined efforts of the woodland patrol, a quiet hope suffused the clearing. Every rescued creature, every extinguished spark, added a small victory to what was rapidly becoming a legendary stand against the encroaching menace. In that charged, unforgettable night, the forest's defenders proved that even against forces that threatened to unmake their peaceful realm, the power of unity and mutual aid could overcome adversity and reclaim the balance of nature. Thus, in the deep, charged silence of that fateful encounter, the Woodland Alliance stood strong, a collective testament to the idea that when nature's children band together, no threat is too great to overcome. As the first hues of dawn crept over the horizon, the forest was bathed in a gentle, golden glow that signified a fresh start. The embers of the intruding fire, which had threatened to upend the natural harmony, now lay dim under the attentive efforts of the woodland defenders. In the quiet aftermath of their midnight ordeal, the gathered forest friends stood united in a moment of triumph and reflection. Across the glen, Artemis, the wise owl, soared above in the pale morning light, her wings gliding effortlessly as she surveyed the recovering landscape. The smoky haze that had marred the forest's edge was now lifted by the soft caress of the early sun. Every tree, leaf, and branch seemed to shimmer with renewed vibrancy, as if the forest itself was breathing a sigh of relief. The delicate interplay of shifting colors, soft pinks, warm golds, and cool grays, created an almost ethereal panorama that promised both healing and hope. Down on the forest floor, Rascal the raccoon stood proudly near the heart of the glen, his keen eyes bright with satisfaction and quiet determination. Around him, the woodland creatures that had come together in the face of adversity began emerging from their shelters. Thumper the rabbit, the field mice, Terra the tortoise, Rust the fox, and even the once cautious deer, Boris, gathered together as if in silent celebration. Their expressions spoke not only of relief, but also of an enduring bond, a shared victory that transcended their differences. In the center of this communal space, a natural circle had formed. It was here that the elder voice of the group, carried by Rust, the wise old fox, resonated softly. With measured words, he recounted the night's events, the courage, the unwavering teamwork, and the spirit of unity that had defied the flames of destruction. His deep, resonant tone wove through the gathering, instilling hope and reaffirming the truth that together, even the most vulnerable could face and overcome danger. As the sun ascended higher, its warm rays illuminated the charred remnants of the campfire, now mere memories slowly being reclaimed by the forest's tender growth. The local stream, whose waters had been hastily diverted to douse the flames, shimmered with renewed clarity and offered life-giving nourishment to the scorched earth. Here and there, small shoots of green began to emerge from the soil, a silent promise of regeneration in the wake of turmoil. In a quiet, almost sacred ceremony, the forest friends participated in an impromptu celebration of their victory. A makeshift memorial was created beneath a majestic old oak, where offerings of gathered wildflowers, twigs, and bits of resin were laid to honor every life saved and every small act of bravery performed that night. Artemis landed gracefully on a low branch, her eyes reflecting both the morning light and the emotional resonance of the moment. Rascal, usually a solitary figure, was now enveloped in the collective warmth of his fellow creatures, his heart swelling with the pride of their shared achievement. Amid the chorus of soft chirps, rustling leaves, and distant calls of jubilant birds, the forest exhaled a gentle sigh of relief. The darkness that once threatened to overwhelm their peaceful existence had been dispelled by the united efforts of these unlikely heroes. For a fleeting, timeless moment, every creature present felt the profound interconnectedness of their lives, a reminder that every act of kindness, every unpretentious sacrifice, had the power to transform even the gravest of perils into a beacon of hope and renewal. As the day fully blossomed, the renewed forest vibrated with life. The forest friends, now bonded by their extraordinary night of struggle and triumph, understood that their newfound unity was more than just a means of survival, it was a promise of continuity and compassion that would guide the forest for many seasons to come. Their collective victory marked the beginning of a new era, one where the lessons learned in the dark hours of the night would forever inspire a community built on trust, resilience, and the boundless power of coming together.